It probably showed up something in the Pies a bit, the midfield. I've done a few of their games recently, and they've lost 3 out of their last 4 against good midfield teams, Gold Coast, Fremantle and Brisbane, and lower their colours. And I was just chatting to Geordie about it this morning. We're just seeing a few little signs that are letting the Pies down at the moment.
So I think this is a little bit Brisbane, a little bit Collingwood as well, but all good midfields know you need to have balance and shape around stoppages, and you certainly can't duck off before the ball has been won. So I think Brisbane, after last week's game, they would have went to work on their balance around stoppages and not leaving the contest too early before the ball had been won. And I just thought their hunt really created issues for Collingwood. You see there the balance of the Collingwood players hoping the ball gets out of that particular contest and away they go, and the Brisbane line midfielders. So staying in the contest longer and then being able to use shape to get out of that contest into the open spaces and be able to transition the ball. The other thing that Brisbane did really well is they rode the tackle. You can see all these missed tackles from Collingwood. If you're able to ride the tackle and find options inside forward 50, that means you're in good health. So you review the game against the Gold Coast. I think their balance was out of whack. Their hunt is out of whack because they're not in the right spots. But I just think at the moment, sometimes, especially on the weekend, Collingwood are taking a few liberties to try and get forward of the contest before it had been won.
The reliance on Scott Pendlebury to do that role seems like it's a one-man band at the moment. Yeah,
well, he's usually the defensive mid. He's usually the one that orchestrates everything and allows, De Goey and Daicos and McCreery when he's in the side to be a starting mid and to duck off forward. So I got no doubt that Collingwood would review that game right there and go, yeah, we just got our contest method a bit wrong.
Well, he'll play that game, that role in transition as well. But I'd suspect that if you could pick one talent or skill to have or attribute in a team, it'd be, OK, stick your tackles when they're there to be stuck and beat the tackler if you can. And we've seen it with Adelaide in the last couple of weeks. One of the reasons why I think they're standing up really well is because they're tackling so effectively and they're really hard to tackle on the other side. It opens up so many possibilities when you're winning that aspect of the game.
Bucks, I'd be interested to get your view as well. And the boys last night on Crack put up a stat based around Nick Daicos, and 43% of their scores go through Nick Daicos. Is that... Do you think that's an over-reliance on one particular player? And I'll just show this piece of vision, and it's just you're sort of starting to see this maybe creep into his game a little bit, where you're calling for the ball in areas where you might not be as dangerous. That's Josh Daicos with the ball. I think anyone who realises when Josh Daicos gets the ball, he can be OK, but it's probably the after attitude. Why didn't you give it to me? So when you see that in a player,
are you worried about that?
Have you got any more? Is that
no? I could have showed 10.
Really?
But
okay.
we weren't. It's a habit.
So he wants the ball.
Yeah, but it's a balance between wanting the ball and wanting the ball in the wrong spots.
Is that also a directive from the coach? Do you reckon? Give the ball to Nick.
There's got to be a balance in it. So 43% of the ball go through Nick to get a score. That's obviously a big tick. But you can't be calling for the ball and you can't be expected to give the ball to a player, no matter how dangerous they are, when they're not in the most dangerous position.
Do you think this is a bad habit that has developed because of him being tagged so tightly?
No, I don't think so. I think he's been really good in terms of mixing up his positions. He's the Brownlow medal favourite for a reason. But I just think sometimes, and he may need some help in that area.
Who helps him? Because at the moment, you're right, it's a one-man band. 43%. You can skin it any way you want. That's unhealthy.
Yeah, I think if you look at their list, and we brought up Dan Houston last week to where his position, where is he best suited, and he hasn't found his absolute niche on the half-back line. Is he one of the players in terms of centre-forward distributors that you might try and expose to that midfield group?
You've highlighted a few issues that Collingwood have got, and I think they were well beaten on the weekend, and Craig McRae said as much in the post-match, in particular around midfield. But there's some numbers that actually that stack up for them, and in the last month they're 1-3. They've lost 3 games, but if you look at their field position, time in forward half, they're actually 2 minutes more per game in the front half in the last month than they were before that. So they're still getting time in front half. They're allowing less inside 50s as an average than they were in between the opening round and round 17. So they're actually defending the ground a lot better, and they're actually they're conceding less goals. So
are they?
No, not goals conceded. So their time inside, so they're less inside 50s, but for all those inside 50s, it's at the pointy ends that the concerns are. So between the arcs is fine, but at the pointy end, in their deep 50, they're giving up. They've gone from second best defending goals to 8th, and scores inside, they've gone from first best to 12th. So all their issues, I think, are at their pointy ends of the field.
So
a little bit in forward 50.
Defensively, you think it's coincided with Jeremy Howe being out? We did that game a few weeks ago.
Yeah, well, Frampton's been out for a while, and they're trying to buffer that. And I think that does have a flow-on effect to Darcy Moore and the others. But I think Jeremy Howe's the one, like, for me. So he's been out for 3.5 games of that month, and I think his leadership and his control of that back six is crucial. Not just when they're in their defensive 50, but we're in their midfield and controlling the front half.
He seems to be the conductor. When you're at a game live, he seems to be the conductor.
Well, he's
the director.
He's leading Darcy Moore in positioning. He gets across and closes off and shuts down a dangerous situation when it looks like the opposition can connect and score. And there's a stoppage, time for the cavalry to get back, reset, which is what Collingwood want to do. They do it with their slow offence and their controlled offence, and they do it. They don't want high transition because they're not a high transition team. So if they can bring it into contest, bring it into structure, bring it into being able to play the minutes, play the moments, then they're in good shape.
So would you say all
that.
those stats would reflect a more conservative approach with ball in hand? Because they haven't been able to score from back up. That's been an issue.
No, I think they've adjusted their game since 23. I think they've been. We were talking about them being a fast-flowing, open offence.
Well, they're certainly not that now.
No, I don't think they have been for the majority of the year, and their defensive numbers have reflected that because they defend off the back of their ball use really well. They just couldn't score off our long down the lines. They usually score 2 in 3 of their long down the lines. Harris Andrews absolutely controlled that aspect of the game on the weekend. And if you've got a player that can control that aspect against Collingwood, you're going to be well and truly in the match.
In their offence, their explosive speed, though, comes from Nick Daicos, which is why they want to give the ball to him all the time, but also McCreery and Hill.
Is a big loss.
And McCreery and Hill. They're the explosive speed, I reckon. That's the thing we always talk about with Nick Daicos. How do you use him? Because you want him in space. If he gets the ball in the middle of the pack, he's either got to extricate himself to be really creative, which is why sometimes off the half-back line is when he's the most creative.
All of the roles you're talking about feed into being able to create turnover or intercept. The speed in the front half to either leave the ball there and go forward or put pressure on the disposal, which gives a Howe or a Darcy Moore a chance to intercept. We're not seeing that quite as much. But having said that, between the arcs, looks the same.
So are you worried about their style?
Sorry, do they make top 4?
I didn't have... this Thursday night becomes
Hawthorn
I'll give them more
Brisbane to play. Sorry, Adelaide to play.
I think the Pies will look pretty good the next 2 weeks. I didn't pick them on the weekend. I thought the Lions would respond from the Suns beating. I'm not fearing... The double chance is really important. I didn't have them out as far in front as everyone said, and I don't have them that far back at the moment either.